So let's have a look at the timeline or sequence. And I know that might throw a lot of people thinking that the return of Messiah is 50 years away. But there's a lot of scriptures to be fulfilled between now and the tribulation. So we're living at a time where we're seeing the decline of the United States, the North Country. And we're about to enter in World War III. And during this time of convulsions, we'll see the regathering of the 10 lost tribes of the house of Israel. Again, the Bible doesn't say there's 3 world wars. It just says that there's going to be an outpouring of fury and trouble, and there's going to be kingdom raising up against kingdom and nation upon nation. So when you put it all together and you see what's happened in the past, you can see that another war is on the way, another world-wide war that's going to change everything. And then we'll have the building of the third temple. And I dare say we're going to be living in a pretty high-tech time. The last days are going to be particularly high-tech. We've got a whole lot of technologies that will probably that'll really take off during after this Third World War. We've got robotic technology and all sorts of stuff, and space transportation, all sorts of things. The last days are going to be pretty high tech. I think that people will be quite amazed that time period when things are being restored. So there's going to be a period of prosperity after the third temple is built and the house of David is restored and the lost tribes in Judah are dwelling safely in the land. And Gog and Magog is from the land of Magog has been destroyed. But then we're going to come into a time of decline, the apostasy, the final apostasy that's spoken of in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 verse 3. And this is just like what happened in Genesis 24:64, as I've mentioned before. Rebecca came to see Isaac, and it says she lighted off a camel in the King James, but in the Hebrew she fell off a camel, and that's very funny and poetic and romantic, but it actually means that she fell. So that may be a hint at this apostasy at the last days. Of course, Rebecca got to meet the bride. Rebecca got to meet Isaac, and they were happily married. But we know that there are 10 wise virgins and 10 foolish. There are 2 against 3 and 3 against 2 within Israel in the last days. In the Gospels it says the enemies of a man's house will be 2 against 3 and 3 against 2. Well, that's 5 against 5. 5 wise virgins, 5 foolish ones. Rebecca had a golden something or other, I can't remember what it was, but it was made of gold, and it was 10 gold pieces, and she had a gold nose ring. That means that she was led by the Spirit because God breathed into Adam the breath of life. So those that are truly born of God are led by His Spirit. And in that last days, there's going to be a falling away within Israel between those that believe and those that don't believe. And this is not about just the Jews. This is both the Jews and the 10 lost tribes are already joined back together. There's going to be a falling away within Israel just before the unveiling of the Antichrist, the lawless one. And then we'll have the 7-year tribulation. The time of Jacob's trouble will come, but he shall be saved. Now we're entering into a time period that's similar. It is tribulation, it is trouble, but it's not the time of Jacob's trouble. It's a time of Jacob's trouble, but it's not the final birth pang. We know that in the tribulation, the woman gives birth to the man-child. We're not in that time period. We're into a time period that's very similar. So, we have the tribulation followed by the second coming of our Lord and the building of the fourth temple and the millennial reign of the Messiah. So this is how the prophecies in the Old Testament line up when we understand who the lost tribes are, that the house of David is going to be raised up, and there are a number of things that have to be fulfilled before the tribulation, including the Gog-Magog war, the regathering of Israel, and the regathering of the remnant of Edom, and many other things as touched upon, and turning Israel into the Garden of Eden.